Based on the tragic state that Avengers Infinity War left the MCU, our favorite heroes are in dire need of a miracle, or a really good plan. Now, one of the most lovable things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is all of its moving pieces, something that has given fans a lot to speculate over while they wait for Avengers Endgame to hit theaters. So today we are diving into the top 10 Avengers Endgame fan theories. While we've done a bunch of theory videos about what we're hoping to expect or what may happen in the upcoming Avengers movie, the theory wheel is ever turning, friends, and more speculations and hypotheses have popped up since the release of the recent Endgame trailer that also finally revealed the title of the film. So with that in mind, let's get to it. And at number 10, one hero for another. Let's start off our list with a theory that supports another theory that we've discussed on this channel many a time, that Captain America will meet his untimely end in Endgame. This theory, posted on Reddit by user FaroResWins, suggests that Captain America will risk his life to save a Stark, but not the one that you're thinking of. They speculate that Pepper will be pregnant with Tony's unborn child, something that was ever so slightly hinted to previously. You know, that the two would have a kid, or at least Tony was thinking about it. Pepper, who has joined the efforts to save whatever is left of humanity, will take up the armored hero rescue. We know that Tony had planned that if anything were to happen, a suit of armor would have found its way to Pepper to protect her. Now, according to this theory, Pepper carries their unborn child, and when Thanos attempts to wipe out the remaining heroes, Steve saves Pepper, sacrificing himself. This would be one hell of a reconciliation between him and Tony, a complete bittersweet moment that runs with their thematic tie of family that they've had over the years, and would give Stark the upper hand to defeat Thanos, or rather a motivation, as fans feel that he'll be the one who brings down the Mad Titan in the end. And at number 9, reality split in two. This is a theory that's been kicking around for a while. It's that rather than killing half of all life on Earth, Thanos just split reality into two. This would explain all of the confirmations of returning characters in future MCU films, like Spider-Man Far From Home, and the fact that we're getting a third Guardians movie. But now perhaps with different members on the team mixed in with our regulars, who knows. Now, say this theory is true. What's the saving grace that will return these two realities back into one? Scott Lang, who is in the quantum realm when Thanos' snap occurs. He isn't tethered to either reality because of that, and therefore he can jump between them, ultimately figuring out a way to help the heroes on both sides to bring the reality back together as one. And this is a concept that isn't totally unheard of either. The reverse of it actually happened recently in the Infinity Warp storyline in the comics, when Gamora created a new reality within the Soul Stone and everyone was amalgamated together within it, creating the likes of characters like Soldier Supreme, a combination of Steve Rogers and Stephen Strange. All in all, the Infinity Stones are capable of lots of things, so to assume that Thanos' snap simply killed everyone may actually be a little naive after all. Up next, number 8, the trailer was misleading. This theory is one of the more absurd Endgame theories to surface after the trailer was revealed. Now, it suggests that the end of the trailer, when Scott Lang arrives at the Avengers compound and is seen via the security footage, isn't actually happening. The theory suggests that what Steve and Natasha are seeing is actually an archived video, and this is all part of Marvel Studios misleading fans in terms of what will happen with Ant-Man, and how he'll get out of the quantum realm. But to be frank, that seems a tad unnecessary, doesn't it? I don't know, what do you guys think? Let us know in those comments below. And at 7, Hawkeye lost his family. Hawkeye will be returning in Endgame, as confirmed by the trailer, and he was wearing his slick new Ronin threads. But this theory isn't about him being Ronin. Rather, it's about what happened before. It suggests that Hawkeye's family is now dead, but not because of Thanos' snap, because of a tragic event that happened prior, which explains why he wasn't involved in Infinity War, and why he's now donning a much darker persona. Regardless, many think this is more plausible than the whole Hawkeye is a Skrull theory, or that he lost his family during the snap, which, to be fair, would be, you know, kinda obvious and likely the case if we're being honest. If he had lost his family prior to the snap though, it would be a devastating character building moment, and definitely something hard for audiences to digest. And at 6, Thor's army. In the recent trailer, we got a shot of Thor sitting all by his lonesome in a baggy hoodie, looking sad as f. But he also looks like he's contemplating something, perhaps a plan? This has spawned a theory that Thor is perhaps planning to build an army from Alfheim. Now, in the comics, Alfheim is one of the 10 realms. It's the last and only realm that we haven't seen appear in the MCU movies. So it seems that maybe Thor, who has a habit of straying and going on missions on his own, may decide that in order to take Thanos on again, he needs to build an army. And where else to look but at Alfheim? Alfheim is one of the realms that's considered to have almost as high of a place as Asgard, and considering Asgard is all but destroyed, it would be the next best place for Thor to scope out some recruits, assuming that half of their population has been wiped out and they probably don't entirely know why yet. In at number 5, In Plain Sight. According to one Reddit user, this theory suggests that Marvel Studios has hidden a time loop in plain sight in Avengers Infinity War, War that will be crucial to Endgame's plot. On Titan, they suggest that Star-Lord's readings on the planet signify that the planet is stuck in a time loop. He notes that the planet was off its axis and its gravitational pull was out of whack. Now let's jump forward a little bit. Doctor Strange, who had the capabilities of stopping Peter Quill from freaking out at Thanos during their battle, didn't stop him. Sure, he had his hands full, but considering his abilities, he could have probably done something. Dan713, the redditor who came up with this theory, noted, I quote, "If you recall in Doctor Strange's solo film, when Strange originally fought Dormammu, he used the Time Stone to create a time loop, allowing him to move through alternate timelines, trapping Dormammu in a loop. The spell itself shows two rings on his upper arm and lower forearm, the lower one being smaller and tighter and the upper being wider. It featured an open eye of Agamotto, with the stone glowing. Similarly, when Doctor Strange was viewing alternate futures in Infinity War, it showed similar runes and bands, the only difference being it was on each arm, and there was a glowing green energy surrounding him, which I gather to imply a heavier workload on Strange and the stone." End quote. Now consider those odd readings that Star-Lord got from the planet again. This could imply that Strange was already working on a time loop spell, since these measurements only make sense if the moon had already crashed into Titan to cause these measurements to exist, which it does after. Meaning, they arrived there, and they're stuck there in a time loop. While the theory has a few holes, time loops are something worthwhile considering, since many believe that time travel via the quantum realm will be crucial to defeating Thanos in Endgame. And at number 4, Lady Death. In the Infinity Gauntlet comic by Jim Starlin, George Perez, and Ron Lim from 1991, Thanos' motivation for everything he does is because of his love for Lady Death, who is the entity of death. He eliminates half of all living beings so that he can prove his worth to her and impress her, and it does not work. This motivation was left out of Avengers Infinity War, with Thanos becoming more of a villain with a point, trying to save the universe from itself by cutting out half of its population to ensure that there was enough resources to sustain everyone. But in the comics, Thanos' entire existence often hinges on the desire to court Lady Death, and leaving her out of the equation was a bold move. This has prompted many theories that the entity may appear in Endgame, and it's a theory that still persists. Think about it. What will Thanos' arc be now that our heroes desperately aim to defeat him? Thanos is generally responsible for his own undoing, and perhaps Lady Death may be incorporated into his demise. Another theory is that if Steve Rogers ends up sacrificing himself, his character will come into contact with Lady Death, further revealing Thanos' motivation and ultimately somehow gives the heroes the upper hand to stopping Thanos if, I don't know, Doctor Strange communicates with Ed, Captain America, something like that. And at number 3, Thanos snapped himself. Here's another interesting snap theory, and probably my favorite on this list. This suggests that Thanos was not impervious to his own actions. He was one of the victims of his snap, having been one of the individuals whose 50-50 chance landed him into another reality, or made him dead, depending on what theory you believe. We see shots of his hands in the trailer moving through foliage, which many have seen as him becoming a farmer. This is something that he does in the aftermath of the Infinity Gauntlet saga in the comics after he's been defeated by Adam Warlock and his tactics. He gives up and retires, trying a simpler life. For a while, that is. Anywho, there's another shot that implies quite a bit in the trailer as well. A scarecrow made of Thanos' armor. This could imply that Thanos has left behind his former life, but others have taken this to be a clue that he too is gone, no longer existing, making things even more difficult for the Avengers and remaining heroes since the source of their problem has turned out to have dusted himself too. Or at least, can't be found. And at number 2, misleading us for years. This theory suggests that Marvel Studios has been misleading fans ever since Avengers Age of Ultron. How so? Well, during Age of Ultron, during a conversation that Tony and Bruce Banner have before creating Ultron the robot, Banner says something that sticks out. He mentions to Tony, "This is a time loop," which at the time in the film seems slightly out of context. Now aside from that, the only other reference to a time loop is that moment in Doctor Strange with Dormammu that we mentioned earlier. When Strange gives the Time Stone to Thanos in Infinity War, the stone is glowing. Now assume that this means that it's activated, and that all of these events are part of one major time loop. Strange also mentions to Ebony Maw in the film, "You will find a dead man's spell hard to break," implying that, he knows what's going on, and he's dead. Those 14,605 realities that he saw are just loops, reoccurring, and that one reality where Thanos is defeated is because of one, change in the loop, a wildcard affecting it, Scott Lang, who was in the quantum realm, perhaps escaping through a time vortex, something that Janet mentions right before Scott goes into the quantum realm, and she, Hank, and Hope are then dusted. Now because Ant-Man goes through the vortex, he's able to escape the time loop and can ultimately end the loop as well. Theory has quite a few holes, but it's another interesting take to the time travel theory that everyone's been discussing. And finally, at number 1, Tony's rescue. The trailer for Endgame showed us a Tony Stark in desperate need of rescue. Running out of time and resources, he predicts his death is imminent as he drifts in outer space. This surely can't be the end for Stark, so naturally theories have popped up about how he will be rescued. And this one in particular is thanks to Audi, strangely enough, the car company. So Audi had partnered on an Avengers Endgame virtual reality experience at the Consumer Electronics Show, called Marvel's Avengers Rocket's Rescue Run. Now considering that Rocket is one of the only characters left alive that hasn't been dusted, and that Tony is pretty much the only character who is really in need of rescuing, because we're sure Nebula's doing much better than, he is, considering she's half a robot. Many have taken this as a hint that Rocket will be the one who saves Tony. In addition to this, Tony is adrift in the Guardian spaceship. After the events of Thanos' snap, it makes sense that Rocket, having lost Groot, would seek out the other Guardians, not knowing whether or not they've been dusted. And how does he do that? By tracking down their ship, ultimately leading him to Tony. Alright, there we have it, friends. Which of these theories do you think will pan out? And what other theories do you have for Endgame? Let us know what you think in those comments below, and be sure to check out our other fan theories videos, especially the ones on Avengers 4, since they feature a lot of the theories that we didn't cover in this list. If you dug this video, spread the love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more videos just like this one. In the meantime though, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next one.